Xplored is back with another campaign for the Teburu game system. We'll primarily discuss the game in this video, but if you're unfamiliar with the Teburu game system, we strongly recommend you watch this video first. We made this video last year prior to another Teburu game called The Vampire Masquerade Milan Uprising. Although it's been over a year since we last covered the Teburu system, not much has changed. In our opinion, the system is still waiting for its breakthrough, much like how computer games such as The Last of Us, God of War and Gears of War drive the console sales. Without a game of that caliber, the hardware feels incomplete. We are skeptical whether the Bad Karmas and Curse of Cthulhu can be that game changer, but let's have a closer look at the GameFound campaign before we jump to any conclusions. On the 8th of October, Xplored returned with a full reprint and a standalone expansion on GameFound for the Bad Karmas. They ran their first campaign on the Bad Karmas on Kickstarter back in March 2022 and raised over 300,000 euros. The Bad Karmas is a cooperative boss battler game for 1 to 5 players. In a gridded area-like map, the players fight one monster by strategically using their actions and throwing dice. We'll discuss the game in more detail shortly. Let's start this preview by looking at the originality of this addition to the Bad Karmas. Now, it would be unfair to criticize the Bad Karmas sequel on the lack of innovation. In comparison to Curse of the Zodiac, Curse of Cthulhu introduces new monsters, characters, archetypes, along with new mechanics where players must keep their madness in check. Nothing groundbreaking here, just some extra variety and a minor gameplay tweak. If we compare the Bad Karmas to other boss battler games, our judgment is less forgiving. The game's theme is neither here nor there, and aside from the Teburu system, it brings nothing new to the boss battler genre. The Teburu system makes all the difference, but without the board game console, the Bad Karmas is a bland boss battler that doesn't come close to games like Kingdom Death Monster, Ian Trespass, Dante's Inferno or even Grim Coven. At 1d6, we've made several videos on the Teburu system and the Bad Karmas. For a long time, I considered the Bad Karmas more to be a tech demo, but at its current price point, I'm compelled to treat it as a full-fledged game. On its own, I wouldn't even consider adding the Bad Karmas to my collection, but the Teburu system and its potential convinced me to make this video about the GameFound campaign. The originality rating depends on whether you evaluate the Bad Karmas separately from the Teburu or together with the system. Personally, I believe you can't rate the Bad Karmas apart from the Teburu system. The Teburu enhances the overall experience, much like the immersive story in Ian Trespass or the gorgeous minis in Grim Coven. Neither directly impact gameplay, but both help players immerse themselves into the game. Thanks to the Teburu system, the Bad Karmas earns a passing grade of a 6.5 out of 10. The way you should perceive the Bad Karmas is all about your approach and managing expectations. The Bad Karmas is not meant to be the next Kingdom Death Monster, Oathsworn or anything of that sort. Instead, it's more of an arcade-style middleweight boss battler that skips along the build-ups and dives directly into the action. Gameplay is simple. Players move, select an action and perform a dice check. Once all players have acted, the monster activates and the cycle repeats. If you're skeptical, you might not find much innovation here. However, if you're open-minded, you'll notice that the Teburu system adds a layer of depth to the gameplay. It's a thin layer, but nonetheless it's there. Allow me to explain. First, the Teburu system tracks all the individual miniatures on the board, allowing the monster to react more strategically to the evolving board state. Some traditional boss battlers use if this then that logic in their monster AI decks to achieve a similar effect, but the Teburu system simulates enemy behavior in a more natural way. The less predictable behavior keeps players more on their toes and adds to the gameplay. Another cool feature on the Teburu system is the monster's LED base. The base has a ring with 4 sections that light up in different colors. These colors can represent different things like weak spots or areas where major attacks will occur. It's a feature I haven't seen before in any other board games. The real question, of course, is whether the Teburu really adds something to the gameplay or if it's merely a gimmick. I struggled with finding the right answer to this question, but I'm inclined to say that it adds to the gameplay. There are no groundbreaking innovations in the Bad Karmas that push the boss battler genre forward, but how different are the small additions in this game compared, for instance, to Dante's Inferno, which adds height to its gameplay to set itself apart. So let me be open-minded here instead of skeptic and rate the gameplay a 7 out of 10. Design-wise, the Bad Karmas does not seem to impress. The components look decent, but aside from the Teburu, there are no real standout elements. The theming is also quite weak. The party of heroes is a motley crew, the monsters lack a bit of imagination, and the rest of the game feels somewhat bare. I rate the design a 5 out of 10. If you combine the Bad Karmas, Curse of the Zodiac and Curse of Cthulhu, you have 18 different monsters to fight. You can play a single-shot skirmish game or start a challenge. A neat feature of the Bad Karmas is unlocking new actions when you defeat a monster, which can be used in future games. This will definitely attract players to replay the game, experimenting with the newly unlocked actions. Another way that Xplored is extending replayability is by adding a custom scenario editor that lets players create their own missions, which can be shared with the community. Overall, Xplored has made some efforts to enhance the replayability of the Bad Karmas. One feature that isn't often mentioned but makes a big difference is how easy it is to set up the game. I really like games like Eon Trespass Odyssey, but setting up a game to continue the campaign can be quite a hassle. Compared to most boss battlers, the Bad Karmas is a breeze. It's also very inviting to new players, who can learn as they play. I can easily see the Bad Karmas becoming a go-to game. For replayability, I rate the game a 7.5 out of 10. If we tally up the score, our overall rating comes to a 6.6 out of 10. The Teburu is what makes the Bad Karmas Curse of Cthulhu interesting. If it weren't for the Teburu, we wouldn't even consider making a video on the Bad Karmas. I can't shake the feeling that the Bad Karmas is an overblown tech demo that is being exploited by Xplored to create some extra revenue. And don't get me wrong, I really like the Teburu system and I can definitely see its potential. However, the lack of games currently available and the limited announcements for the future releases on the system worry me. If there were a vast lineup of games, I would be invested in the Teburu all over and the Bad Karmas. But at the moment, the lack of games has me concerned. I'll skip this Teburu campaign and wait for Swords and Sorceries to launch on GameFound. What do you think on this new title for the Teburu? Are you interested? Leave a comment on this video, and while you're at it, give a thumbs up and even consider subscribing. That's it for now, and I'll see you in the next video.